That was a short jam, wasn't it?
It was for us.
Yes.
I liked it though.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Morning somewhere.
Good morning, America.
You should be on TV. You are?
I am on TV.
Alvarez TV.
Finishes today, I think.
Is that what we do today, D?
Yeah.
Talking
Nice
about
guitar,
guitar
man.
finish.
For an
Entry level.
inexpensive entry level. Sounds great, doesn't it?
AD30. I haven't played one of these for years, and it's great. Sounds great. Not a lot of finish on it though.
And does that make a difference?
Should do. No matter what finish you choose, whether it's satin or nitro or polyurethane.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know how to build a guitar and the guitar is built right, whatever finish on it, you should be able to achieve a decent sound, but certainly to a good set of ears.
Mm-hmm.
It's just less finish on the wood, so the wood should be vibrating more freely. Where with a poly finish, you kind of, you're covering that
It's sort of thicker and
the
it's filling
soundboard.
the...
There's just more finish on there.
Right.
So like, the whole point of finish is to build it above the grain.
Right.
But a satin finish there's less actual finish. It's a lighter finish than say a gloss finish.
Okay.
But even in gloss finishes, there's nitro, there's polyurethane, polyester, and they're all different in molecular form or hardness and rigidity and all that sort of stuff.
So, you were telling me before that older guitars use like a kind of a nitro...
Usually.
Right.
Or
Which is
still
why you can sort of see the grain because it sort of sinks in, right?
True. But so nitro is probably the softest of the finishes for guitars. I mean, the three general ones are nitro, polyurethane, polyester. Nitro is used certainly on nearly everything, I guess, until about 20 or 30 years ago. And then poly finishes became more popular because they're just easier to deal with.
Okay.
And still you get a very nice finish. So nitro is harder. In my experience, you have to put lots more coats on nitro. It's super thin, it's soft, but it looks fantastic when it's new. But it won't look new very long, as long as the poly finishes will. So when you have a piece of wood where it's mahogany, it's got little bit, it's got lots of pores in, or you have a piece of Sitka which has got lines, grain, but obviously they're up and down, so they've got dips in them. So you're filling that to make the top flat, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's your ultimate objective, is to have a very flat finish. So you can't just like stick loads of finish on at the same time. You've got to do a layer.
Right.
Sand it off so like the next layer will adhere to that one. So the finishing process can take certainly days. It all depends what drying techniques you're using, but it could take 2 weeks.
Really?
It all depends what material you're using, drying processes. If you're leaving each coat to dry overnight, or some people might get 2 or 3 coats on and then sand it off.
Okay.
But you can only get good finishes if you've got to go back to your sanding processes to get good finishes. Because when it comes out of a sanding department, whether you're in a factory or on a bench, you can't get a good finish unless the sanding is really nice.
Because it's sort of keying almost, right?
Flatness. Everybody's trying to achieve a flat surface. And then throughout the process of building the coats, you're trying to keep that flatness. Because especially on a gloss guitar, if it's not flat, when you look at it, you'll have like angles in the finish.
Of course, yeah.
And you can see it. And it actually looks like there's either something wrong with the construction or you'll get lots of scratches in the finish if you don't take care.
Right, okay. So how many layers of finish are on that guitar? How long
So
does that
this one
take?
would have had the same base layers as that one,
Right.
but where that one's been finished more to take it to a sort of a high gloss finish, this is just called finish off the gun, and it doesn't go through a buffing process.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
But this one on the backs and sides is open pore. So most guitars have some filler.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, your Yairi doesn't have any filler in the backs and sides.
No filler.
So if you turn over, you'll see little dimples.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those.
I've seen
before.
that and did wonder what it
right,
was.
Okay.
So at Yairi, they don't put filler in the rosewood because the rosewood's been aged perfectly for so long, and they want to keep it very natural. So it's a very light poly finish with no filler in there. So those dimples are pores,
Right. Okay.
wood pores. So if you don't put any filler in, obviously the finish will sink into the pores, so you
pores.
get those little dimples.
Oh, I got you.
Where this is the same, so there's no filler in the pores, so it's it feels almost textured,
Yeah,
right?
it does. Yeah.
Where yours is completely flat and shiny and hard.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So filler you can put in different ways. We wipe it in so that when you this is like mahogany, but it has we stain it because it would be a lot lighter than that. So to get a nice sort of color, we choose a color for different guitars. Even that Mikasa Ebony has a tint in there.
Right.
And when we wipe the stain on, there's also filler in there. So we're filling the
right.
pores of the wood first. So it comes out of sanding, and then the stain and with the filler inside is applied to the guitar, and then that's treated, and then it'll go in for a base coat. So for us, a base coat would be polyurethane. So polyurethane is harder than nitro, but it's not as hard as say polyester. Nice to finish with, still get a really nice finish. Lets the top still pliable. So we use a polyurethane base coat so that sinks into the wood. It's not as hard as polyester. We do about 3 coats generally of polyurethane, and then sand that back. So if you've done a great sanding process and you've got your filler in there, and then you put your base coat on, if you don't sand the base coat properly, and you put the next coat on, you're going to get those angles in the finish.
Right.
Or you'll get what you call intercoat scratching. So sometimes when
Yeah.
you look at a guitar,
Yeah, I've
you'll
seen
see
that.
swirly scratches. Or sometimes they're long curved scratches. So some people will use very industrial sort of style sanding, big sanding belts, like these huge triangular machines, and you stick the guitar underneath, and there's like this massive sanding belt around, and you use a block and you sand it. It's super quick, so you can sand lots of guitars in a day. But in our experience, they're too aggressive, and especially intercoats, they'll leave scratches. You just have to touch it slightly too much, and you're going to either what we call sand through, which is going from one coat to another one. So we use, like the car industry, I believe, the little DA sanders. So they're multi-directional, so they don't spin round, they don't spin this way, they oscillate and go. There's no pattern to them.
Right.
So when you use hand sanders like that, it's much slower, but you get a better finish. And also you don't have to keep fixing things. If you use those DA sanders really nicely, there's sometimes you can speed up one process, but then you've got to fix it and make it better somewhere else.
Yeah,
So
of course,
sometimes it's best to take more time, especially in your, like on some foundation levels, and then there's less rework later on. So we use DA sanders in between the coats, which is slower, but we get a better finish. And over time, we've developed a system of sanding and painting. So our guitars don't have a lot of intercoat scratching, which is really hard. And even when you pick up some guitars that are not entry-level guitars, you'll still see swirls, and it's not on the surface, it's in the finish.
In between.
So it's in between those.
So how many coats on a guitar like this, for example?
So
Because it's super shiny, right? It's
super shiny,
beautifully finished.
So it's got a polyurethane base coat, and it has a polyester middle coat. So that sometimes called a build coat. You use that middle coat to build. You know, we're building above the grain.
Mm-hmm.
Polyester is you know, it's more forgiving than polyurethane. It's a bit tougher.
Right.
So it's great to get the build, to get the height, and then we go back to polyurethane
Yeah.
for the last coats because it's more beautiful, it's
To get the
glossier, and
finish.
it's thinner.
Right.
So, you know, there's a few equations, right? There's cost, because we like to deliver guitars, you know, at certain price points, and then there's beauty and you know, people don't want to see scratches in the guitar, so you've got to do it slowly.
Yeah.
In some respects, and then there's you know, there's efficiencies at our level when we're making a lot of guitars, so the guitar's got to travel efficiently through the factory, so we can keep our rework down. Because you know, if mostly all this is by hand, so if somebody's sanding a long time, you know, you've got to be really careful. So they may go through. So if you sand through, you've sanded through the coat you're dealing with into the next one. It's got to go back round and often get refinished. So we have inspection points after the sanding process, after the staining process, and then after the painting process.
Right.
If you don't pass all three, it's got to
around
go
again.
back. And obviously, for efficiencies, you've got to have a little rework as possible.
Wow. Fascinating.
So I'm not sure how many exact coats that will have on, but something between 9 and 12. Yeah.
So what's you know, in terms of time? How long does it take to go from being?
So we don't, you know, some people use UV finish, which is ultraviolet finish, of something which we've certainly delved into. We haven't quite pulled it off yet, but what UV finish is not necessarily better, but it's so much quicker.
Right.
So if you're not using the ultraviolet paint, which means it can be finished through ultraviolet lights and it'll cure in the light very quickly, then most of our guitars will be, some of them will wait overnight before the next coat. So then that's why you've got several days.
Right.
So they can't sit outside in the factory. So they've got to go in special areas where they're humidity controlled areas where there's no dust.
Dust free. I was going to say, yeah.
So so that could be 5, 6, 8 days, all depending on the wood and how much the configuration of paint. Lots of factories use electrostatic painting, where you hang the guitars up and they go on a elevated conveyor, and this spinning disc will, with paint coming out, will paint the guitars, and it's electrically charged. So like the molecules will repel. So when they hit the guitar, they don't fall on top of each other. They hold this little charge for a millisecond. So they sit next to each other. So you're trying to get a flat finish. There's all sorts of like high-tech stuff.
Wow.
You know, it's UV. You know, the guitar can be cured in minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, certainly, you can probably go through all the drying processes.
Does it
depending on
detract
what
in any
paint is.
way?
Don't think so.
No.
I mean, Taylor have been using UV for many years, and they have a really beautiful finish. I don't mind saying that, they really do, and in the Taylor way, it's very high tech, and they have a mix between the human and robotics and different things, and it's very quick, and I think they have robotic buffing machines. So where we stand with buffing wheels, like big buffing wheels, they have robots will do some painting and buffing, which is fantastic as well. It's not doesn't detract from. It just depends which route you go down or what your capabilities are at any given time of being able to adopt technology if you so wish. Where at Yairi, they would never do that because
Yeah, I was gonna
they
say.
want everything to be by hand. It's like we
Yeah.
don't want any robots, and this is, to them, it's their emotional sort of approach to building
Yeah.
is not to do that, and do it slow and by
Yeah.
hand, etc.
So what's the difference in finishing between Yairi and that?
No polyester in
just-
that one, so it's all
Okay.
polyurethane. So that will so polyurethane will sink quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it might take years, but all the guitars you'll feel the sitka, you'll feel the ridges,
okay,
right?
right, yeah.
Because the finish has sank into the wood.
Oh, yeah. The DY, you can feel that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I guess you can kind of feel it around the edges. But also, I guess the other thing that you told me about these is I always thought this was a stick-on scratch plate.
It's not stick
And
on.
you told me
plate.
it's like raised finish, which is
No. So what happens is it's in the finish.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody do that apart from Yairi people. So the pick guard is built in the finish.
Mhm.
So it's raised. There is a membrane in there,
Right, okay.
but
it's
they
in
very
there,
cleverly
yeah,
put
yeah.
it between the coats.
Beautiful.
Which is really cool. So how long does it take to finish one of these?
It would still be days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I bet.
Yeah.
It would take ages,
But it all depends, And then nitro, because it's soft and thin, and I don't have a lot of experience painting nitro, but it certainly could take 16, 18, 20, 24 coats, depending on what wood you're using and the finish you're looking for.
Wow.
So it's hard to be efficient with nitrocellulose. In my experience, somebody else may be able to do it, but nitro is like has become, some countries actually can't use it. I think it's with the thing around like manufacturing with everything. You're having environmental sort of controls everywhere, especially everywhere actually. So I don't know if nitro is more controlled somehow on the environmental sort of approach, but it's certainly seen as like the high end finish.
Yeah.
You've got to be pretty skilled. I mean, the guys who paint our guitars, they're so skilled. I mean, really fantastic. Doing shadow bursts and then getting that finish on the top. It took us. We focused on finish for a year and a half. Did nothing else in the factory. So
Really?
every visit was finish, sanding first,
Mm.
and it took about 18 months to nail down the whole process before we were happy, and then you have to keep it. So it's like, the challenging thing with making guitars is two things. One is wood, which is like always moving, and it's as William Campione used to tell me, it's an elastic substance, material, and then humans. So, they're both difficult things to manage, wood and humans. So once you design a process, it's then the processes around the process that try and keep that process happening every single day on every single guitar.
Yeah.
And that's why I think some factories, some have taken some of that risk away by inventing very clever CNC or automation to do it. So every day is the same.
You can understand why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just efficient.
But at the same time, the human element's quite nice, isn't it?
But there's something about that, isn't
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I think so anyway, There's something about humans making things that you then use that...
I mean, to me, it's everybody has their own way, which is great. Whether you're, very advanced technically through machinery and CNC, or it's a chisel.
But ultimately, it's about, a person playing a guitar, how they feel about the guitar, and not so much about the process of how it happened, but it just has to be from. It just wants to be perfect, right? You want it to be perfect.
Which you were saying before, when it comes to finish, you walk in a store and you go to the guitar. If you don't know which guitar you want, and some of us do, you go to the guitar that appeals to you aesthetically first, because you haven't played them, and then you'll start playing them.
Yeah.
So it could be lots of people love satin finish. They love the more woody sort of organic feel of a satin finished guitar. And some people like dark woods, you know, they gravitate towards mahoganies or walnuts or whatever. And then, you know, you've got traditional sunbursts, you've got shadow bursts, which is more like a, you know, some people call it edge bursts.
This is a great finish.
And then, you know, this guitar here, which is Sam's guitar, which is acacia.
Yeah.
So you could paint an exact shadow burst finish on the cedar, acacia, and sitka, and they look completely different colours because what the wood does to the paint.
Right.
So the wood colour really has an effect on the look. So you've got wood, colour, filled pores, open pores, gloss, semi-gloss, which is like this but a bit of sheen, so it's in the middle, high gloss, and then all the different colours.
Yeah.
So it's like endless choices, really.
What's your favourite?
I like shadow burst on Sitka, or just a perfect, like, creamy Sitka natural or Adirondack natural top, like a DYM 60. Some of those tops. So for the DYM 60s, we buy 4A grade Adirondack.
Right.
And some of them are just in their simplicity, they're just perfect to me.
Tim, what's your thing? What speaks to you?
What's the? I mean, I should know, shouldn't I? On the DYMR, that's sunburst, right?
So that's an SB. So we have SHB, which is shadow burst, and we have SB, which is sunburst, which is a classic teardrop. So you know,
like that
shadow burst. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your teardrop classic.
I like that, and I like plain Sitka.
Yeah.
They're my two, definitely. I'm not. I like love the look of these, but for me personally to play, I'm more like that
Tradition.
or plain. Yeah, you know.
Sort of retro-y
Yeah,
vibe.
okay, it's just more up my street. What about you, D? Is it the D Delvin signature model? Is it the,
And that bass is, well, it's like this, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, yours is shadow burst.
It's stunning. I mean, it's
We
really,
made
it's really
D's on
beautiful.
bass recently, which will be featuring soon. A DD
It's something else.
bass with an
Really
armrest.
beautiful. Armrest.
Yeah.
Shadow burst. It's gorgeous. It's really great. But I don't know. You just when I think I like a certain, then something else comes along and you go, whoa.
Yeah.
I do like a cedar.
Yeah.
I do, you know.
I mean, cedar with the shadow burst looks great.
I like uncoloured like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Just something about the grain. Something about that. Just really like that.
But that's the thing with guitars, right? That because they're made of wood, there aren't any guitars the same.
Yeah.
Like every single guitar is different.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this before as well. Obviously, not about finishing, but the type of wood, the type of shape, it makes you play a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, like I've got that parlor guitar in the house.
Yeah.
And I just can't stop learning how to try and finger pick properly.
Yeah.
And I never strum it. I haven't touched it.
Funny, right?
I haven't touched it with a plectrum once. It doesn't.
But yeah, on a dreadnought, you probably didn't finger
Yeah.
pick, but you pick up a parlor and you do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes you do different things. Same as baritone. We'll do a baritone program at some stage.
Yeah.
Pick up a baritone, it's just like you just do different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about the middle string, isn't it?
Yeah,
all about just getting the resonance. It's
yeah,
great.
you just do different stuff. You know.
We were
That's what's
jamming
on.
with those guitars, weren't we? Like when we were there about a year ago or something in here.
Oh
We did a
yeah,
little
yeah,
jam.
yeah.
That sounded
cool.
great. I love
Yeah.
playing that. Yeah.
But bottom line is, finishes. You know, there are choices in for the maker, and it's, you know, a good finish comes from the ambition really of the maker, because no matter if you're a one-man band in a shop or you're making 200 pieces a day, it's tricky, and you've got to be, you know, it's a real commitment to get a good finish. And you know, that's our job as makers. But when it comes to players, I think everything's personal preference really.
And do you think the sort of thinner the finish, the
It
more
does-
resonant the top?
It does have impact, but you can still get high gloss guitars that sound obviously they sound fantastic the way they're made. And you know, gloss guitars, if you knock them, you know, it does offer more protection. It's got a bit of a harder finish on there where, you know, it'll probably bounce off to a certain degree, where on a Satin guitar like this, you know, you're probably just going to ding the wood.
Yeah, true.
So, pros and cons really.
Yeah, yeah. There's the Yairi finish as well. It's lovely. You know, it's lovely.
He likes you.
He loves
But I did want my DYMR. I knocked it on the front of a microphone quite lightly, and it left a little
ding.
Little ding.
Then it was yours.
Yeah, no, that was it was a bit of time after, but I was still.
That was me with the guitar stand.
It was
That's how I got
D
mine.
with a guitar stand. That getting that guitar stand.
You banged it.
The back of the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little ding out of it.
Yeah. Got it refinished.
Not yet.
In finishing, I mean, when you go back to the repair side of things, I mean, repair is like it's a really artistic work and experienced. I mean, some repair people, you give them, you know, the could be a hammer through the guitar or something to get the guitar back, and it's like, it's amazing.
Because also there's like all those layers of finish that they've got to get. I never really thought about that before.
Yeah, good repair guys. It's just.
I guess I just thought there was a couple of coats. All I didn't realise there was that many.
Yeah, it's
And
hard.
it was all
Gotta
different
build them
types
up.
of.
Can't just slap it on. It's got to be super thin, backed off, applied again. Patient.
Yeah, patience.